everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Felicia. If this is your first time, then welcome. If you've been here before, thank you so much for your continued support. So in today's video, I'm going to try something a little bit different, and I decided why not record the process. This process, and I call it a process because this is the first time I'm doing it, obviously. But I've done this within the span of maybe like 3 to 4 days because I had to order some products online, wait for those products to arrive. So it did take me a few days. But what I am going to show you is how I transferred one of my plants from soil to Leca. Now, I jotted down some notes because, as I always tell you guys in my videos, I'm not a professional planter. I'm just a girl who picked up a hobby about a year ago, and now I'm obsessed with indoor plants. So Leca, if you're unfamiliar, is lightweight expanded clay aggregate, or clay balls. It's pretty much just clay little round balls. And you can use them for a number of things, but for the purposes of today's video, I'm only gonna stick to talking about what I'm using it for. There's so many videos out there on YouTube with folks that have been doing this for years, and I've watched a number of those videos. So, you know, I kind of tweaked that process and kind of did something that was easily achievable for me. Not a professional here, but I'm just trying something new. So basically, Leca is another way to grow your houseplants or any type of gardening medium that you have instead of soil. So what you do is you take the soil out of your plant, you wash the roots up really good, you use the Leca, and then that's how your plants grow. I know it sounds a little weird, especially if it's not something that you've seen before, but we'll take this journey together and I'll show you how I transplanted one of my plants from soil to clay. How I chose which plant I wanted to do it with, again, this being my first time I've ever done it, is I decided to work on a plant that I noticed it just had a lot of fungus on the leaves. It started off as a beautiful plant, and I am talking about my Dieffenbachia or Dieffenbachia. You know, when I bought that plant, it was so beautiful, lush, beautiful leaves, and I'm sure you're seeing the picture here that I just inserted. And then most recently, that plant has been struggling. I've read so many different websites, I've watched so many different videos online, and I just can't seem to get it right with that plant. So I said, you know what? Let me, instead of tossing it in the trash can, because that was the next thing, that was my next step, was to toss it away. I said, let me give it a try with Leca and see what happens. And I figured, if it doesn't work, if it ends up dying anyways, then so be it, because I was gonna toss it anyways. So here goes, guys. Oh, but before we go into the video, let me share with you the pros and cons of, what I researched at least about Leca. So I'm gonna use my notes here. The pros, and this is pretty big for me, is that no pests. As you know, it's soil. Soil can attract gnats or fungus gnats, and there's so many different ways you can control it, whether you use mosquito bits. I've heard people recommend giving it a peroxide bath, the soil, or even using cinnamon, and sometimes you just don't have time to do all that. I have found success using mosquito bits, and I still swear by it. But sometimes the gnats still tend to come back around, and you got to sprinkle the bits on. It can just be a nuisance. So I would say that's one thing. If you're new, if you're a new houseplant parent, just know that fungus gnats is to be expected with some plants, not all, and it's just something that unfortunately comes with the territory. I'm not an insect person. I don't like bugs. I don't like any of that stuff. So it definitely took me some time to get used to, but at the same time, it's not something that I'm happy with, so that's definitely, for me, number one on my list of pros when it comes to Leca is it controls. So I would say that's definitely number one for me, is little to no pest issues. The second pro is that the Leca is usable. I found that a lot of people have shared that, once they're done with the Leca, if they decide to transplant the plant back into soil, they can reuse the Leca. Again, it's clay balls, so you can just kind of rinse it out and reuse it. So that's a pro. Some cons to Leca that I've researched is it seems to be pretty easy for your plant to develop root rot if the root of the plant is touching the water, and I'll explain more about that once I show you the process of transplanting my plant. And another con I would say is definitely, having to, you know, invest a little money, not a lot, but invest in some money into purchasing some nutrients for your plants. Again, the Leca, it doesn't give you the same amount of nutrients, or any nutrients for that matter, as soil does. So there are things that you can purchase to kind of supplement the loss of nutrients. Let's get to this video. Again, like I mentioned, the video has been filmed over a span of a few days because I did order a few things from Amazon. So let's jump right on into it. All right, guys, so here is the bag of clay pebbles that I purchased, also known as Leca. It's a pretty large bag. I did order it from Amazon. I don't think I realized how large the bag was going to be, especially given this is my first time trying this, but it's all good. If this is something that works out, I would have more to use again. And if I didn't already mention it, one thing about the Leca pebbles that's really good, unlike soil, is that you can actually use it over and over again. So even if you do attempt to use Leca and it doesn't work out for some reason, you can just simply rinse it off and use it again. So yeah, again, this is the bag that I got from Amazon, 10 liters. Next up, I'm going to show you how I rinse it. So here is my Dieffenbachia plant. I still think this is such a beautiful plant, but as you can see, as I'm kind of panning around the plant, this plant has suffered so much. It has given me so much trouble. These little brown spots here, that is definitely fungus. This one is pretty bad, as you can see. And it's just something that kind of happened over time. And the reason why I want to attempt to save up a Leca, I don't know if you can see there, but there is quite a bit of new growth still. But again, this fungus is just taking over. I feel like it, as you can see, started from the bottom. It's working its way up to the top. And, you know, it's such a beautiful plant. And I just really want to try to save it as much as I can. Obviously, these pieces with the fungus, I'm not going to include that in the Leca transfer, but hopefully the Leca works out. Okay, I've just cut the pieces that I want to use for the transfer, and I rinsed all of the soil out of the roots, or as much of it as I can. So I'm just showing you what the roots look like. Still look pretty healthy. Here are the leaves. As you can see, it's significantly smaller than what you saw before, but again, definitely didn't want to transfer any roots with fungus. Here's my Leca station here on my balcony, and I'm going to get ready to fill my little plastic pot. Now, I probably could have used something a little bit larger than this. I'm just going to speed up the video, but this is all I had at the time, so this is what we're working with. So I'm adding the Leca in there, and now I'm adding the plants in there, just making sure those roots are nice and centered, or centered as much as I can get them. Here, I'm just kind of arranging them how I'd like to see them arranged. So once I get that done, then I'm going to backfill and add the remaining Leca pebbles on top. I'm just speeding up the video here to move it along. And then once the Leca pebbles are in there, then the plant should remain upright and not kind of topple over to the side. And you want to really make sure that the roots aren't too low down to the ground, so when you do put your water in here, the roots aren't sitting in water. Again, with Leca, that's one thing you really have to watch out for, is root rot. So here is what we're looking like. I probably could have used a taller container for this larger plant here, but that's all I had at the moment, so that's what I used. As you can see, I tried to make sure my roots were towards the center of the container and not too low to the bottom. And then I decided to just save this little piece as well. I just have it here in this plastic cup. I just thought this piece here didn't have any fungus on it, so why not try to put 2 pieces in Leca? And that probably could have been in a larger container as well, but due to limited resources here at the home, this is all I had at the time. And again, just giving you guys a closer look at the placement of the roots. I tried to put it as much in the center as I can. And here in the back, I have some Super Thrive. Again, as I mentioned earlier, one thing that Leca doesn't have is the nutrients that's found in soil. So I'm just showing you here my container that I placed a few drops of that Super Thrive in. I didn't want to put too much. I know some folks on YouTube, they measure the pH balance and the this and the that. I don't have anything to measure pH balance, so I just tried my best not to put too much of the Super Thrive in the water. So here I'm just adding the water, as you can see, and I'm just trying really hard to make sure it doesn't get too high up where it's touching the roots. And again, when you're doing this, you just have to do what works best for you. If what works best for you is, adding water all the way up to the top, you can. Again, I don't have any holes in my container, so that's the reason why I'm not putting too much water in there. If you had a container that had some holes on the side, then you can certainly put the water up a little higher because the water will drain out. So do keep that in mind when you're, trying to determine the proper container for your Leca. Just know that it seems to be ideal if you place holes on the sides of your container just for the water to drain out. Alright guys, so I'm back with my plant in its new Leca home. I'm going to give you a close-up of what it looks like here. You can kind of see the roots. Here's the water down below, and I really tried to make sure that the water wasn't touching. But this is what it looks like. Again, I probably could have got a bigger container, but this is all I had, so it is what it is. I also noticed that a lot of folks in their videos, and I believe I mentioned it already, they would drill holes into their containers. So here's a close-up of what it looks like. Again, here's the plant. I only saved about 3 stalks of the plant, and I really tried my best not to save anything that still had fungus on it. I'm hoping that this right here isn't a sign of fungus, but we'll see what happens. I think it's it doesn't look as pretty as it did when I first got it, that's for sure, but it's still a very beautiful plant. Unfortunately, I'm just hoping that this works, so we'll see what happens. And let me show you the smaller plant. I decided to put it in a new container. So here is what she looks like. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen these face planters. I did get it from Target. This one I believe is the 6-inch planter. So this is what this looks like. I didn't intend on keeping this one, but I thought why not? Especially because this one has a new leaf coming in there, as you can see. So we'll see what happens. It looks kind of weird like this, but you never know. It could grow big and lush like how the plant originally looked, which will be amazing. Today, let me know if you have any questions about the process of Leca. Let me know if you guys have tried it before and if you've had any success. Wish me luck. I'm really hoping that these plants survive, but we'll see. If I remember, I'll do a check-in maybe in about a few weeks, a few months to give you an update. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.